Kick it. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, guys? This is the Ginge and Pedro show, and we're gonna do a song that represents every guest from now on. And this is, if you can guess who's coming in, you'll win a no prize. So this is the song. Who's that? Right. You'll ask.
Boom.
No, Mr. RYAN WINN. Yeah.
Say win. RYAN WINN.
Yes. Yo.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, boys.
So much, man. Yeah, I know it's early. I can hear in your voice, and we apologize. Not really.
It's all right. One other California guest, and they were in similar straits when they showed up. So really sorry about that.
What they were wearing their old man cardigan.
Yeah,
to try to keep warm.
Very distinguished, I have to say.
It looks good.
Cut with two hands. Oh my god, it's lovely image.
You're like such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Screw both of you. How's that for a second take? Being such sweet jerks that I want to get up early just to hang out with you guys.
We do appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's totally. It's I only complain out of pure fun. You are getting me on 3 hours sleep. This is right in the middle of my sleep schedule. So, so I don't know how much how awake I am, how goofy I'm feeling, or who knows what I'm gonna say today.
All right. So
or how low of a voice I'll say it in.
Very sexy, I have to say. The tone of voice is making me want to wear it.
Is that better? I cleared it up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so I mean, for those guys, I mean, this guest needs no introduction. This is the RYAN WINN, the only RYAN WINN. This is one of the guys who got me into indie comics. I have to say now directly, yes, sir. Yes, sir. When I started looking into indie a year ago, because that was like all animation and all like commercials, diapers, tuna cans, whatever. One of the first guys I gravitated was your channel on Inking.
Oh wow!
So I have to say, thank you, Mr. WINN.
Oh,
and yeah, that's one of the reasons I stalked you and offered you some animation.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for watching, taking the time, and thank you for initially reaching out, because you've become such a buddy that it honestly feels like I've known you for years now.
Yeah, I have that effect on people.
I'm just so tired of knowing you already
he's in pain most of the time.
It was it feels like I've known you for years, man. But we got along right away, and thank you for the Stooges intro. I didn't expect you to be playing guitar. You said, "Oh, we're gonna play a little song for the intro." I was like, "Oh, whatever." Ooh, what do we have there?
Oh, it's PVH.
Okay.
PVH Wolfgang from that time when he was working with PV, when he owned it.
Nice.
This is it's one of my pride and joys. Out of the 4 guitars I have, this is one of my favorite.
Oh, nice.
The other, my Gibson Explorer is like the second favorite, and then I have a Flying V, and I have a guitar my brother built for me. It's another Flying V, and I have a Telecaster. So I have 5 guitars. So
yeah, I wanted to talk guitars with you when I had you on our show, and we didn't end up getting to it because the Gibson Flying V, or not the Flying V, the mine's a Destroyer. What's the Gibson one you just said? Explorer.
Yeah.
I have the rip-off, the Ibanez Destroyer. But you use that in all the videos over the overpass.
Yes.
And it's so beautiful looking. Like, part of the interview, I was like, can you just sit there with that guitar?
Yeah.
Actually, I have some questions for the guitar, if you don't mind. Just
you
leaving
can go
for a minute.
You can leave, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Awesome.
No, I love checking out people's rigs and their equipment and stuff. And I'm not surprised that your second guitar looks badass and is a unique piece of instrumentation on its own.
The things I'm so told, it looks like a ukulele on me. but I don't really mind. Like, dude, I just love the sound. It has like a very thick neck.
Pedro's the Vince Vaughn of indie comics over here.
It has a very thick neck, which is something I appreciate for my gargantuan gorilla hand. So yeah, dude, I just love this guitar. But we're not talking about guitars here. We're talking about
All right.
Ryan Winn and his amazing career. And dude, Hammerella, like every update you give makes me moist. I can't wait to have this book in my hands, man. So, and no pressure. I know you're working. You took a sabbatical from Twitter, which is something we miss you, but we appreciate the effort. So yeah, give us something on Hammerella, man, please.
Well, so Hammerella is a spin-off series of Gods and Gears, which I write and color for Gods and Gears for Alterna Comics. This is an ongoing. If you have the first print, it says limited series, but it's now an ongoing series at Alterna, drawn by Dean Kotz, lettered by Les Loker, or lettered by Wes Loker. However, hopefully I've got the no typos when it gets to him crediting himself, so he doesn't have to say lettered by Les Loker.
Yeah, weathered. It's really early. It's really early for you, dude.
Weathered would at least be something.
Yeah.
And seeing Ash in there before we even get started, I didn't ever hit tweet on that. I'm live with you guys. There we go. So now I've done my professional duty and I can get back to the interview. So yes, and so I was an inker for many, many years in the mainstream industry, and also a creator of indie comics the entire time. About 4 years ago, we came up with Gods and Gears and started to put that out. And then last year, I came up with a spin-off series that I wanted to draw myself. Not a series, sorry, a one-shot, or sort of an annual, if you will, for the Gods and Gears world, about a new character that's tied to that universe. And her name is Hammerella, and of course I didn't get anything handy except I got a piece of artwork there we could show.
That is lovely. Hold on.
This is one of the initial drawings of the character. This 11 by 17 here. And I won't say exactly how she's tied to the Gods and Gears universe, but that will be revealed in the story. And one of the reasons this is taking me so long is it was originally a 48-page, one and done contained piece. And then we reached a stretch goal where I added 8 pages, but then I had already added a couple pages and had started to play with these characters called Blue Astra that are sort of, well, let me step back for a second. Gods and Gears is inspired by cartoons and comics from the 70s and 80s. Oh, look at Pedro, my man, with the whole series there. It's very much inspired by like comics, cartoons, and like classic Disney movies. So we wanted a classic bad guy. We wanted like real life like terms and problems that the kids in our story, Jimmy and Eli, have to deal with, but also like, big fun cosmic magic, space gods, and all this other stuff that like makes a universe more exciting than our world. So then with the Hammerella story, I wanted to still be inspired by like 70s and 80s comics, but when I was a kid in the early 80s, I started seeing like fantasy comics, not stuff that was full of just sex and stuff like that, but not just heavy metal, but seeing stuff from Europe that was like more big fantasy, like, oh, this character is raised on a crazy planet, and like that was a usual trope that was throughout a lot of these fantasy stories,
Flash Gordon stuff.
Yeah, you add that sci-fi piece to the Conan story, or you add a spaceship to any classic story, kind of a thing. So I liked that idea. I always liked the Jungle Book. It was one of my favorite stories. So I wanted to do a story with a character that had been raised in isolation. So we came up with this character, Hammerella. She's raised on a distant planet that like she has to be as nasty as the beasts that inhabit this planet in order to survive from childhood. And then excuse me. At around adulthood, she finds her way off this planet, and she runs into this aforementioned team, Blue Astra, which originally were just minor characters that were going to help our character get from point A to point B. And then as I was really getting into the meat of the story, I started really liking a couple of characters. And you guys know how it is when you're creating, whether it's music or art or whatever. You start the creation, and then the creation starts to bubble on its own, and it starts to be like, it's like, hey, I'm this now. So I talked to a bunch of my backers, I talked to a bunch of my friends, and I said, like, what if I double the book? Is doubling the book an okay reason to be late? I didn't know it was going to take me this long. I really thought it was only going to take me 3 months longer. And then, of course, with all the, let's just call it all the nonsense going on in the world and all the nonsense and seriousness that family emergencies can bring. Lots of delays in the last year, but I kept going. And these last 2 months, I've finally been able to really hunker down and got the story where I needed it to be, because I kept working through writing it and then like not really being happy with it. And I'm jumping back between two stories here, back and forth, because I'm space cadet today. I'm telling you the history of Hammerella and then the deal with the campaign.
Perfectly fine, man.
Let's get back to the story. So Hammerella, it's sort of like a cosmic jungle book. So she's raised on her own, like I was saying, on this planet with these crazy animals. By the time she's reached adulthood, she's found her armor. She's found this hammer. That'll all be explained in the book. And she meets up with this team, Blue Astra. And Blue Astra is sort of my creation that is inspired by things like Gatchaman or Silverhawks, those things as kids. So Blue Astra is this, and they're also inspired, again, I always inject real world stuff. So in the U.S., there's a naval flight squad, a stunt squad called the Blue Angels.
Yes, sir.
And
I live
so that's
near them, actually.
Awesome. They've been one of those things that, like, they may not fill me with as much awe now, because I don't know, we see all this stuff in movies and this that. But when I was a kid, we lived near Marine Base. We were in Marine Town, so we grew up with these guys coming by every year. And from the time I was a little kid, these guys were up in the sky being cooler than Star Wars because they were there, you know. And so I wanted to incorporate that a little bit. So the Blue Astra team, they're almost like the Blue Angels meets the A-Team. So they've been accused of a crime on their homeworld that they didn't commit. Jesus. So they've been forced to leave there, and they roam the galaxy, putting on stunt shows and being hired to be helpful because they're amazing pilots and things like that. So they're tasked with a certain job in this story, and they run into Hammerella. And that was the point. I got to that point in the story, and I was like, I can't let these guys go for 3-4 pages, and then they're gone. And now they became such an integral part of the story that Hammerella's it's almost a team book. Like halfway through the story, it's a team book, and I've expanded more stories. So what Hammerella is, finally getting to the point, it's an 88-page graphic novel, written, drawn, penciled, inked, colored by me. It will eventually be published as the Gods and Gears annual through Alterna. So the Hammerella Thundersmoke graphic novel, as you see it here, this is going to be purely for whoever backed it on Indiegogo. Like there's going to, and maybe a few people because I'll overprint a little, but this version of the book is going to be the only version like this ever. And everything else will be just a simplified regular trade version.
Awesome. You know, I have a little comment, man. Like, I love the fact that, and I see this in Gods and Gears. Like, even though it's I don't want to say future tense, because there's a little bit of time travel in Gods and Gears, but even though it's a future tense story, it feels like a 70s style future tense story, which is like very hopeful, and it's not as like the like that air of sadness and there's no hope anymore, you know, kind of thing that you see in modern movies. Like, I love that fact. And also, like, the character design, I mean, it's screaming Alex Toth to me. But maybe it's because I'm coming from animation and I see, like, these are perfectly animatable characters. Like, I think I showed it and the little piece I did for you. Like, dude,
we should have that ready. Yeah.
I see so much potential. That's why I backed it right away. Like, I'm a backer. And yeah, guys, if you haven't been, you know, aware of this campaign, or you haven't backed it yet, go it until it's still in demand. Like, I've seen Ryan's book, like how it feels on paper. Dude, you're not gonna be disappointed. So get this book. Get it.
No, thank you guys. It's had I've had incredible support from everybody. Everyone's been cool, you know, as long as I'm keeping updated and people know I'm legitimately working on pages. Haven't really had any problems with people being upset about that. If they have, they've reached out to me and we've talked and worked things out. A lot of the times people didn't see the updates. So they didn't know I was actually still working on it. It was late. They checked in and stuff. But I never have a problem. I'm not the greatest communicator, but I don't have a problem like getting back to people and replying to them and being open and transparent about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's such an amazing. I mean, I had no idea I would get this many backers. Everyone I knew, even the most supportive people, we expected half this amount of backers. We were like, that'll be it. That'll be fine. That'll get the job done. This or that. Everyone's been so supportive. So that's another reason I want this thing to be the best book people have backed. Like when they're done reading it, I want them to put it down and be like, this goes in its own pile. Like, yeah, like I said, I've been doing books for 20 years, but I've never drawn 88 pages. I've never written or drawn 88 pages of a story. Awesome. This is complete new territory to me. I will be doing a series of videos on all my mistakes, all the things I've learned. I've got a stack of paper an inch thick that is all the different versions that the story went through, because I write, like I number out all the pages and I write out my flow like that. Okay. And then when I go to switch it, I go to a new piece of paper and I switch it up. So I've got this stack. I've got maybe 10 pages that are fully drawn pages that aren't going to be in the book at all, that have been drawn and are being either been redrawn or just been chucked out completely out of existence. So I've got all this extra stuff that like I'm almost as excited to share that stuff as I am the book, because like I'm such a big process junkie myself. Like I can't wait to talk about my mistakes. Like, like I'm just as excited to talk about the mistakes and the things I learned in the last year as I am to get the book out to people. Just because me at my age, like I haven't, I learned a thing and then I worked a job for a long time. And then you learn a few new things here and there. But this last year has been I haven't learned this much since I was 25. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting and should be humbling. I should be like, oh my God, I made all these mistakes. But that's another thing. As you get older, you're like, oh, a mistake, I learned. Oh, yeah, exactly. What a great opportunity that was.
Actually, quite happy, dude. Like this past year, like as artists, like I feel we all been hit over the head with a hammer. Because we have grown complacent, and now we're in this arena where it has nothing to do with who you are, it's what you bring. So, dude, like I personally had to improve so much on my weak points. Like I've never inked in my life. Now I have to ink, and I see the shortcomings.
Oh yeah,
and you're talking about the same thing. Like the mistakes to me are happy mistakes, because I didn't know I sucked that much.
Oh yeah,
and that's when you start to improve. So, dude, amazing.
No, and I surround myself with no men. Like I don't have any private yes men in my life. All the guys I send anything to, they will be the ones that will say no, man, no, immediately. Brutal. And that I learned about my writing immediately was whether it was Gods and Gears or Hammerella, it was you're being too nice to this character. You're not allowing them, so like my artist, who's also the co-creator of Gods and Gears, Dean Kotz, would be like, I don't know, not that you necessarily want to be like cruel to your characters, but you want them to get into corners that they have to work their way out of. You want them to learn their lesson. You want them to fall and scrape their knees.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that.
So then you want them to embrace failure, just not catastrophic failure. But they need to fail, yeah,
they need to fail, but that's going back to that 70s or 80s writing style, like you were saying too, that where we're trying to write hopeful characters, we're trying to write good guys and bad guys that you could sympathize a little bit with them, but only when you're in the scene with them. So it's like, oh, we're talking to the bad guy, and the bad guy's had this life. Oh, it's so mean, and you're like, oh, that's right. But then when they get into the scene with the good guy, they're so bad that you're like, all of a sudden you're like, no, I want them. They need to be stopped.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like, oh, that kind of writing isn't around anymore, because good writing, good comics, it's everywhere on all continents, and it all exists. You just got to find it. But it was more of a standard. And again, this isn't even being nostalgic. This is going even before my day. So in the 70s and 80s, they kind of, and I'm repeating myself from things I've said in many streams, but they'd kind of figured out how to have a product and take that product and make great entertainment with that product. and they didn't shy away from this is product, and this is the entertainment part of that product. And they were really, really good at it, whether it was movies, TV, and of course they didn't nail everyone. Not every 80s cartoon is amazing. Even the stuff we love from back then, when you go back, it can feel dated, or it can feel like it was from back then. But at the time, it was serving the specific purpose that a lot of things don't serve anymore. And that's like, no, yeah, we're all trying to make that dime. Make that dime. Make it a product. Yes, whatever. Capitalize on it. But make it good. Make it something that speaks to people, and you'll have more return on capital. Like
exactly,
things like that.
For example, like the marketability of a series like The Adventures of Johnny Quest, for example. There are episodes that are outright racist, but the imagery, but the imagery of Johnny Quest, like if you make a T-shirt with those kind of that kind of symbolism, will sell right away. It evokes a message. You know, it's like an innocent child having this like amazing adventures, and everything's happening around him. And you know, that's the thing. Like that's why, like, calling things dated, it's you're not going to the source. And I don't want to bash on what you just said, Ryan, but just like going to the source and the spirit of why it was made. The language might change, the ideas, or maybe like the point of view of things might change, but the spirit of making something that's good, if it was there when it was made, it's going to be there forever. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely see what you mean, especially because like so much of the I don't know how to say this, like so much of the impetus, the birth of these characters, there's these like sparks, there's these things that make them happen. And yeah, there have been creators that come in and make things better, like Chris Claremont came in and made X-Men better and stuff, but he changed it up. He legitimately did not take the original 5 and say, okay, now Beast has the wings and Iceman fits in a cup only when it didn't come up with all these dumb things that happened to the original 5. It was like, it was the thing that everybody online always complains about. It was like, or that doesn't happen now, is he was like, oh, let's make new characters and have new adventures for them without denigrating anything of the old, you know? And so, with Gods and Gears, like, we wanted to have that feeling. We still wanted it to feel modern, though. There was the thing, too. We didn't want people to necessarily pick it up and it feels like dated in language or anything like that. Because that is something in even up into the 80s in comics, which I like very much. This isn't a detriment to me, but there's the tendency when you use captions and thought bubbles to get a little too verbose. I mean, modern writers do it with just word balloons, just blah, 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 and stuff like that. But that was a device that has shifted away from many, many comics, is using captions and thought balloons. And that's something that we incorporate in Gods and Gears. And as we started to do it just as sort of a trope for the book, like, oh, this feels kind of 80s, I started to realize that is where the meat of Chris Claremont and Peter David stories came. And if you read their comics as a script, they're very much like a novelization. You get into the character's head more. You learn so much more. You can become so much more empathetic with characters with thought balloons than you can with any amount of pages that have over exposition of people just chattering away and talking. Oh, hey, Kayla, Amanda, I saw Pastmaster Dan. And Ash and
Chat's going off over here.
We didn't say hi. I didn't say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, dude. I want to thank you, Ryan, because we're having a very deep conversation, and this is an ungodly hour for you. It's like a double effort, so thanks.
Well, I just hope I'm making sense. I'm tired, but I'm having fun and stuff. So yeah, we incorporate all those things to have fun with them like an old comic, but in the process, along the way we learned that that's the way to the heart of our readers, is to let them know the characters' thoughts, what they're thinking, what they're going through, and stuff like that. And it also became a very fun way to tell the story when I was realizing that, like, no, I don't have to avoid thought bubbles just because other people do.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can embrace every trope of comic making. And when we started doing that, it just became a much more comfortable process, actually. because so much exposition, you have to come up with awkward conversations where after an action scene, you can have a person thinking how they think about things realistically in real life. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that he felt that way or he thought that way.
Yeah.
And it's such a great way to inform the reader.
Awesome. Okay, I have an artistic question. It just came up from what you were saying. So when you are using thought balloons or thought bubbles, would that inform the gesture of the character?
It depends on what their in the scripting world you would call what their action is in the script. So it doesn't mean that like swinging bats or swords or anything. It just means the action, the performances that they're doing. So it depends on what they're doing. Like so in Gods and Gears we have a grandpa in the story. He's moved on from the main story, but he's hinted at and he's seen in flashbacks and stuff. And he was sort of an Indiana Jones adventure archaeologist type. And so we'll have, scenes where he's looking or digging up things and he's thinking about stuff that's happening then, where a lot of the times people will be doing something else. They'll be mid-fight and they'll be thinking something that has nothing to do with what they're doing. So I use it in both ways. So there are times where it will be incorporated with the art and with the action and have to do. But then, like I said, there'll be times where it's a character just walking through the forest and having completely different thoughts that are away from there. Because when you get to do that, you're, especially with this description, it's not an exact scene, but you have character A walking through a forest thinking about past actions. So you can use the forest scenes to sort of describe the mood of the book. If he's thinking of happy things, you could even have like a panel where you cut to a butterfly landing on a stump of a tree or something. Or if he's thinking something bad, maybe you could have like an owl or some dark clouds rolling in, but you're using the present that the character is in to help describe a mood that they're thinking about from another time or another scene or something like that. So it really can open you up. Like, it's not a cheat at all. Like I saw so many people, they've said that's a cheat and it's an easy way to get your exposition out. And for me, it's just another interesting way to layer your story. And to have an opportunity to get your readers to dive into the story, because we're giving people still images. In a world of whizzing phone images and movies with every dollar put into CGI and stuff, we're asking people to be invested in this. So we have to do whatever we can to invite them in, invite them to be invested in this story.
I don't know, dude. Like the thing is, like, people say that we compete with CGI and movies, and I don't know. It's a completely different experience, and
yes,
that's the thing. Like, to me lately, everything I've seen, like on streaming service and even in cinema, it's disposable. I watch it and I don't remember. Like they dragged me to watch the Eternals. Can't remember that movie. I enjoyed Spider-Man. It's cool, but it was like, nice. But like the emotion of grabbing a comic book and then just going to a page and then going back, you can't.
Well, that's something. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's something you can't really do on the cinema or movies for all that matter. Like, you can't rewind and like submit everybody unless you're watching the movie by yourself. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like, it just like the personal attachment you have with the story when you're reading a comic book form. It's something that we really should rely on, and using thought bubbles, like color palettes, like every tool we need to immerse the reader into the story. We shouldn't limit ourselves, I don't think. So, I completely agree.
I do too. I completely agree with that. All the tools are useful. It doesn't matter what popular people are doing or using. Like, you need to look at your own personal story and how it can help you to do that. Oh shoot! I just had another thought. Now I'm having a brain fart. It'll come back to me.
Sorry, I
interrupted. Let me hop in here real quick. I gotta show off a new addition to the Ginge and Pedro show over here.
Heck yeah!
Oh, this is Pedro, everybody.
What?
I got some puppies.
Pedro too. Yes.
Pedro. This is the one we're gonna keep. We're keeping two, but yeah.
And you just kill the others?
Yeah.
Well, No, but
You sacrifice them to somebody, I hope.
to the gods. No.
We have gods
Hello,
down here.
everybody. Yeah, we just
Just
had
need
them a
years.
couple days ago, so their eyes are still closed.
Yeah.
Some sort of pit or terrier. What do we?
It's a pit bull and a German Shepherd mix.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
It's
Hello.
a mutt from hell because you those two like breeds and it's like, dude, this is a killer. But
If any
it's a puppy.
Florida locals, any of my comic dudes, I have already tried to put one off on Jeff and Ashen because they're not that far away from me. They both said no, but
Man,
if anybody is interested, as long as you're good people, you're welcome to. We just wanted to go to a good home, so.
yeah.
Anyways,
So all you not good people, don't even try.
Good people don't even
don't
try.
even think about it. No.
Okay,
All right, carry on.
carry on. Yeah.
What were you saying, Pedro? Remind me, refresh me.
I had a brain fart too because they shot a puppy, and now no, we were talking about using all the tools at your disposal to tell the story, from color palette, thought bubbles.
Yes, that is true. Oh no, you were talking about the unique experience of reading a comic book.
Oh yeah, that too.
And that's something like any time I've been able to talk to young creators about the differences in mediums, it usually tends to, my discussions with them are, they want to get into the art world. I usually come at them realistically with what kind of life do you want to live first?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
a lot of people go, oh, I want to draw comic books and have 5 kids and own a big house and have a wife and this or that. And I go, okay, slow your roll for a second. If that's the life you want to live, you got to work to make that. So if you want it in comics, you're going to have to be the best that ever existed.
Ever. Yeah.
So I've always been realistic, and I always get crap from my contemporaries for that. But then the second goal is to get them like, what do you like about comic books as a medium? And when you got a savvy creator, somebody who really understands, no matter how old they are, they'll say they love that you can take a comic book and sit in a quiet room and have the galaxy opened up with galactic battle and space monsters and spaceships, and it's quiet. It's an experience that it doesn't require any audible input. It doesn't, which is movies, TV, radio, all that stuff requires this audible input. In comic books, it's all a comic book is a code for your brain to create a holographic image of basically a movie in your head.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting about a comic book, is that you're creating a code for a story. This isn't the story. The story happens in the reader's head when they read it, because that's where the sound effects make noise. That's where the panel to panel, because when you're really reading a good comic book, you're not going, oh, next panel.
Yeah,
oh,
next
panel.
Next panel.
Oh, next panel. You go just beat to beat, and your mind fills in all the blanks. One of the best examples that I give as a broad example for this in mainstream comics is if you look at something like, I'm drawing a blank on the stupid Marvel Avengers, but it's not Avengers. It's this that Brian Hitch did. That Ultimate Avengers. I couldn't think of the adjective.
The word, yeah.
It's very cinematic looking, and he draws people that look like they're from movies, and he's directly drawing actors from movies as these characters, but he also masters comic book storytelling in there, so that thing, like, there's pages where it's perfect examples where Thor, you see him with his hammer back, and you're like, what's he gonna do? And the next panel, he's swung it around and he's lifted himself up and is flying, and it's these comic book beats where, like, that's all you need is the back of the hammer and then him 20 feet in the air in the next panel with the hammer in front. But our brain does the swinging arm and the thrust. Something like Ultimate becomes this actual ultimate comic book experience, because not only does it look like the cinema, but he's doing what you're supposed to do with the comic book beats to this point that it just sucks you in. And that's why that series was very easy for people to imagine as a movie. It was it was almost impossible for them not to, because they'd done the work to make the comic book, again, a code. This is not the story. This is not the end all. This is part A, and what happens in the reader's head is part B. And that's what completes the cycle.
Exactly.
So again, goes back to, that's why we use all the tools in the tool shed. We don't have music, we don't have sound effects, so color fills in a lot of that.
Well, I've heard some campaigns that recommend music, like when you read, please listen to ACDC or whatever, which is something I do normally. Like when I talking about another alternative, and I don't know if you're gonna get pissed about it because this is your time.
Yeah.
But
Let's see. Depends who.
Let's roll the dice, Pedro.
Yeah, let's see. Go for it.
Try,
I got my leave studio button about my mouse is hovering over it. I'm gonna leave if you say
Robert Geronimo with Blood Roll.
He's okay. He's all right.
Okay,
that guy's all right. All right.
Cool.
I'll stay.
Well, when I was reading Robert Geronimo's Blood Realm, I was listening to the soundtrack for Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay.
Because that story called me to that music, and that's something that you being a musician. My question is, do you think of music when you're writing the story?
I do. When I'm working on my own stuff, I get my own tunes in my head, and I don't mean my own songs I've previously written, but like when I'm working on Hammerella, like I've got 3 or 4 Hammerella songs that are just like, this is the tune for when she's young.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I have the lead.
That's in my head like once a week. If I see you, it just pops in. You're great with little jingles.
Great
jingle man.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I've got like 4 songs or so. But then like when I'm doing other aspects, like when I used to ink other people's work, the immediate one that comes to mind is when I was working at Valiant and working on EXO, Manowar, Queen would get me in the mood.
Okay.
Like what's their song? I'm always so bad with song titles. They use the song in Shaun of the Dead at the end.
Shaun of the Dead.
It's not Rocket Man, but it's
no. Superstar. I'm a superstar. Look into the sky. Like
yes, that song. I forget that's not the title. I forget the title right now. But that song, it felt like EXO flying through space to me, and I would literally play that in the studio, like blast it before, like I'd wake up, eat my breakfast, and then just go and blast that and just sit at my desk. Yeah. And it would be don't stop me now. Don't stop me now. Yeah, and so I would sometimes try to inspire myself with the music. Like use the music to literally get my blood flowing, to get me excited about working on the page.
Wow, that's now that I see it, that's a great flying song.
Yeah, I wanted to animate him flying to it.
Don't stop me.
Yeah, because even something like a scene where EXO's learning what songs he likes to listen to, where like it's always a fun little montage in a movie or something like that, where the hero has this very human moment. And but things like that. So I'll either use music to inspire me for the day or get me pumped. But I'm not really. Let's see, who am I reading? I'm reading Echolands by J.H. Williams right now, and at the back of each issue, he lists every song, album that he listened to while creating that, and I think that's awesome. It's not the way I work, because I'll get inspired by music, and then if I'm just inking or coloring, I actually prefer to have like kind of a crappy movie on or something, like some free YouTube movie on or something, like just some comedy from 2002 I had never seen or something. Because there's something to like the conversation. I work really well to conversation. I think that has to do with just I started off in studios, like in studio with people. So it's like, and I started off with Danny Mickey, and Danny Mickey, those of you who don't know, he's been an inker for 800 years in the mainstream comic industry. And he's like, I got into his studio early 20s, and at that time I assumed, you assume so much about the great artists that and stuff. And I went to his house and was thinking like, oh, this will be like when me and she was my girlfriend at the time, when we first moved out and we had a second room, and she was like, that could be your studio. It was like, okay, the cats can't come in here. This is the quiet place. I won't even have a TV in here. I'll maybe have a radio for music. That'll be it, This is 20 some years ago. And so then I go to Danny Mickey's house. He's got 3 desks set up because he had his wife as an assistant and another guy working as an assistant at the time. Each desk had its own TV and VCR setup. This is right before DVDs, where everyone was grabbing DVD players. So phones, comic books everywhere, studio door open. The wife just come in and this, that. And eventually he had kids and stuff, but this is before that. So like we start working and we're working on Spawn. He's like, you want to watch Blade or whatever? I think it was the first Blade was out.
Wow.
And no, it was Buffy because I hated it. I hated the show Buffy. And he was like, you want to watch Buffy? And I had to be like, oh crap, I gotta watch. I gotta say yes.
I gotta say yes to
Buffy. Buffy, damn it.
Okay, did you see the original movie? The original Buffy movie was charming. Like I didn't enjoy the show because I guess I was too old for the show, but the movie it's all right.
See, you say that because I used to say that too. I'm too old for Buffy. Danny's 10 years older than me. Everyone who's 10 years older than me was watching the show and trying to make me watch it.
Touche.
Yeah, so I think we're just too mature, Pedro.
Too mature,
yeah, exactly. Really going for we're too mature.
I would say curmudgeons more so than mature, but yeah,
that's actually probably it. Yeah.
I'm a Sarah Michelle Gellar simp. I mean, I just have to be honest about that. I don't know why.
Well, see, I had to be a Christy Swanson simp. She's the Buffy from the original movie.
Yeah, the original. Yeah, Christy Swanson. Yeah, I'll simp.
Because she went to my high school, and her mom was our guidance counselor at my high school. So, like, freshman year, you go into, like, take the little, like, test for, like, what job am I going to be good at or whatever. You're taking this test, and there's Christy Swanson Buffy posters all over the room because her mom's... And I guess their son was a rock star. I forget what band he was in, but long blonde hair, like hair metal.
I hate them both already.
And yeah, I remember sitting there. I was like, "That's your daughter," and I was like, thinking, you're a freshman. You're like, "I'm probably gonna meet her." Yeah, I'm probably gonna meet her because she went here. Yeah,
nice.
Never met her.
Never happened.
4 years when I had to deal with the guidance counselor for 4 years. Never got to meet her.
Jesus. I don't know. That to me is so alien. Because, I mean, me living in another country, like when I lived in Canada, I did meet Robin Williams and who else? Michael J. Fox. I think I saw him somewhere. But like seeing like stars, like I met with someone. It's like, dude, here in Panama, like maybe you meet the guy who like calls the numbers in the lottery. Maybe. It's just like it's completely alien, man. Alien.
It's weird. Growing up in Southern California, you didn't think about it. Like we went to church, and there were the Rams went to my church. They were the Los Angeles Rams at the time, and the Rams and a bunch of the Angels went to our church. And like you could go up and say "good game" to them. Hey, good game last week, and like cool little guy, and they'd high five you. And like, I didn't think about that as being special. Exactly. Like, so it's. As an adult, I completely get how weird that is. Yeah. Especially when you're talking to people from around the world, know.
Cholas down here would go nuts. Like, I went to Starbucks and I saw like Leo DiCaprio with his new girlfriend.
I remember seeing Paris Janos around here. That's like just a local news anchor. I remember seeing him at Luigi Bigi's, my favorite pizza spot, one time.
Nice.
That's the end of that story.
Yeah, it does make a lot of Southern Californians, whether you're in LA area or not, it does. You do become kind of jaded to it too. So it is kind of funny. Like you'll meet famous people and they expect you to be impressed, and you're like, whatever. There's 5,000 famous people 100 feet away. What do you? You're not special.
What Kayla is saying here. What Kayla is saying here. Can you please bring that up? Jungle Con, you're a part of it. I'm making a
sweatiest convention in the Western Hemisphere.
I'm making a convention in Panama with all my favorite artists. And it's gonna be a convention, but it's just an opportunity to get you all down here and just go drinking. But we're gonna have a convention down here at some point. I don't know if it's this year or next year. But I'm planning on that. Jungle Con. So
that would be incredible, dude. Yeah. I would love to come down for Jungle Con.
That would be nuts.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's the sweatiest convention I've ever been to? Probably Arizona. Somewhere in Arizona. Because the old Phoenix Con used to be a small building. It wasn't a big fancy convention like it is now.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, I'd love to go somewhere with that much humidity. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Like I'm sweating already just thinking about it. But I mean, I'm here. And right now the humidity is at 92%. I think.
I think Dan makes a point here. He says he thinks the Predator will be at that con.
Oh no,
a safe bet.
Like they did a Comic-Con down here like 2 years back before COVID and whatnot, and a guy got like the whole neoprene Predator suit, and he passed out.
Oh,
jeez.
He couldn't breathe though. It was like, oh look, here comes the Predator.
See, I always figured it'd be a cheaper costume to do Schwarzenegger's character in that. Just cover yourself in mud. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm Arnold
exactly.
I'm Arnold from the end of Predator.
Yeah, like you one ugly motherfucker. Yeah, like that would have worked better. Yeah, but that guy passed out, and then like you take it as like this like goofy looking guy with the Predator's body,
just splashing water on his face.
Yeah. And
Okay.
the mask next to him, and somebody like make him smell salt. Completely destroys the image.
What happened, guys? Did I pass out?
Did I pass out? It was like,
I'm a Predator.
we like the Terminator, nerd. So, yeah, that was it.
I also liked what was it? Chris Fisk's comment about celebrities. Yeah, they so many of them expect you to be impressed too. So it's I always like to I was telling someone this story the other day. So just another thing that only happened because of geography. So my wife got invited to be part of an art show for some embroidery work she had done, some artwork she'd done, really cool stuff. And the person setting up the show that had got her, we didn't realize was what's his name? From the Nerdist, Chris Hardwick. It was Chris Hardwick's girlfriend set it up. So this is something I always do when I would meet somebody that is famous. Like I see him across the room, I'm like, oh, that's somebody that's legitimately famous. And then it turns out he was I had to be introduced to him basically. So I went, oh, hey, I'm RYAN WINN. Like as if he should know who I was. So then he stops him. So whenever you do that to a celebrity, you see them start to like, their wheels start spinning. Am I supposed to know who this is? I'm supposed to know who this is, aren't I? So it's like, it's always such a funny thing to do. So whenever you meet somebody famous, always be like, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so. And say your first name and then your first and last name. So it sounds like they're like, oh, I should know who this is. And then they'll talk to you like they're like they owe you something. They'll be they'll be so into you trying to not look bad for not knowing who you are. It's a very funny thing.
I mean, in the
Allow
end,
myself to introduce myself.
Yeah.
In the end, an actor is somebody who's looking for a job. So if you say like I am the RYAN WINN, like, oh my god, he's a producer. Oh my god, and they come all the dynamics change. Now like I'm talking a little bit of manure now, because I've met celebrities down here in Panama. You're talking about meeting people and like really not caring about them and how it changes. Like I was playing this gig in 2016, and this is before before Mel Gibson came down, before the whole sugar tits thing with the cop. And I mean, Mel Gibson was visiting Panama periodically, and he was bringing like actors to like scout in Panama, and they brought the blonde kid from the Hunger Games,
Oh, okay.
So, but dude, he's a little kid, like short, like nondescript, and we're playing. It's like a 2-story bar where I'm like really good friends with the owner. So basically, it's like my house, where I can drink. So we're playing. We acting like we own the place because we technically do. And then we finish the gig. We go upstairs. We keep on drinking, and then this guy comes like, "Hey, good gig, man." So I was like, and you are, and then this cholita came like, "He's the guy from the Hunger Games. How could you?" Like, dude, I haven't even watched the Hunger Games. Fuck him. You want a beer, boy? It was like, and then like he started hanging out with us just because we weren't like it. I mean, everybody was like sucking his what. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, it's the guy from the Hunger. It's like whatever, dude. Like, I don't know, man. Like that whole celebrity. Like, I deal with a lot of theater actors, and to me, a movie actor is the same thing. You're pretending. You play pretend, and you get paid for it.
And then many of them bring that pretend into the real world and pretend that they're very important, and
and they're not.
Can't fathom that everyone else isn't pretending the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Robert De Niro is a good example of a guy that just never. I get the vibe that he really thinks he can whoop everybody's ass, and maybe he really could throw down back in the day. I don't know, but he seems like he's more of the character than not. Like There's no De Niro anymore.
To be completely honest, I'm more scared of Joe Pesci. If we go there, Joe Pesci scares me more than De Niro.
He's they've both played psycho characters, but Joe Pesci always made me feel like I think he is a little bit that psycho. Where Robert De Niro always like great actor, but I always knew he was acting, you know. Where with Pesci you're like, I think that's him in Goodfellas. I think that's just him. Like funny haha or
funny how? Oh, like am I a clown? Like I amuse you? Funny like
still
what?
Scary. You just reenacting it. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Boxers are a completely different arena. Taskmaster Dan. Jesus, those guys are scary. Like I know we have like Roberto Duran here, and I mean he was a beast when he was a boxer, but now he's just an old drunk. And there's billiards. He goes everywhere, and he still puts $50 on a table. Like whoever can take this fist to the chest, get this $50, and nobody takes them. Because I've seen him giving like the 1-inch punch to one too many a drunk. Like, and no, I don't mess with that guy. So boxers, they're the real deal. They're not pretending. They will whoop your ass.
No, that's like I'm a couple miles away from a city called Huntington Beach, where MMA fighter Tito Ortiz is from. And granted, he may be more mature now, but there was a time where you could go down to a bar and just in Huntington just for a good time and end up getting headbutted by Tito Ortiz.
Nice.
All right.
It's like a souvenir. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Huntington Beach. Oh, thank you. I will remember this forever. Yeah,
I'm a huge fan. Although I won't say any names, but there was a time where some big name comic artists, like top shelf pencilers, manly men, and this one particular artist, he would headbutt people. Like you're kind of new to the industry and you're at a convention and everyone's out drinking. If you got in close enough, you got headbutted.
Nice.
And this guy, great artist, still working top of his game. Like, I don't want to say his name or anything because, like, this all used to happen before Twitter, so stuff just happened, you know.
Yeah.
And but I always thought it was hilarious, and anyone that had it happen to them was like, "Bro, so and so just headbutted me. That was awesome. That's awesome, man. It hurts so bad, but it's awesome."
Yeah, dude.
And I will say, jumping back 1 second to partying with celebrities, someone who was always cool at San Diego Comic-Con, even before he was famous, and then when he got famous was cool, Tom Jane. Tom Jane was always a bro hanging out at the bar.
Yeah.
And at first it was like, hey, there's that guy from those indie films or whatever. And then he blew up and was just like, if you were within, like, if he showed up at the Hyatt and you were within 20 feet, you got a free drink from him.
Nice.
Like, it was super cool. He'd be like, "What's up?" Tommy's like, "Drinks on this guy." You're like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Or not on this guy. Drink for this guy. And you're like, "Yeah."
You talking about Thomas Jane?
Yeah.
Dude. Oh man, I love him in The Expanse. Like the whole detective thing he did. Dude, that's a solid actor, man. That's a solid actor.
I just recently started watching that. I can't believe I'm so far behind on it.
Dude, it's an amazing books,
sci-fi show.
An amazing sci-fi show. That's very, very cool.
So Ryan, I have a question for you. Sort of, we can maybe switch to Japanese celebrities because I'm sort of familiar about your Japanese friends, Viwat, and you're obviously a musician as well as a comic book artist, and we haven't really touched on that at all. What's it like playing with a Japanese band? I mean, what's Viwat like? What's Japan like?
It's Japan's like, it's one of those places that everyone hypes up to this like crazy extent, and then Japan doesn't live up to it. Or no, Japan exceeds their hype is what I meant. Like they hype it up. It's so cool. It's this or that. Blah blah blah. Never been anywhere like that. And you're like, yeah, whatever. That's what everyone says. Exactly. And then you go there, and it legitimately is it's different than New York. It's different than LA. Like Tokyo. I'm talking Tokyo specifically. And it's not a thing like I always say, like, oh, they're just better than us. No, nobody's better than anybody. But generally, like, you go there and you're like, everyone's a little bit nicer. It's a little it's a lot like the Midwest, where like a lot of people don't understand like how nice the Midwest really is in general. Like it is way nicer than either of the coasts. Like, and I'm just talking like you just stop anywhere and go to the store, go to the gas station that day, go to your hotel. You're gonna just hit manners everywhere. Especially the northern Midwest and United States. I got that a lot. So many manners.
So what you're saying is the problem is the ocean?
I think so. The ocean. No, but I can't say that because Japan is so nice, but Japan has all the manners and they're surrounded by the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not sure what it is, but went there, manners galore. I'm a huge fan of manners. I'm an old punker that grew up to really like manners and respectful treatment of other people and stuff like that. And that's what the funniest thing about going to Japan to play with a Japanese punk rock band is they aren't starting trouble. Like they are counterculture to their culture, but they're still like respectful. They're not out like hoodlums. Like I don't know, when I was a young like a punker, like it was part of it was about being bad. It was going places and skating and breaking things that you weren't supposed to skate or break, and like that was like part of it. And it just you grow up and you think, oh, I can't be that way anymore, so I'm not that much of a punker. Yeah. But inside you still are. You're just not into breaking stuff. You're not into breaking stuff that isn't yours. I think that's the maturity factor that comes in, you know?
Yeah, because breaking your own things is a completely different thing.
Yeah. So, once I got on stage and started breaking my own guitars, I was like, oh, this is a much more healthy outlet.
Yeah, exactly.
My psychiatrist wouldn't consider it a healthy outlet, but he would agree that it was more healthy of an outlet. Yeah, you go over there, you meet this. They look like punkers. They've been punks since they were kids in high school, but they're super respectful and so kind. And Pedro may appreciate this, although I don't know how shows are set up there. So my band, The Taint, www.thetaint.com, if you want to check out some of our stuff. We started off as a punk band. We were a Misfits cover band that also played 80s TV show intros. Like and commercial songs and jingles and stuff. We'd play all this stuff. And then we eventually kind of came into our own kind of rock and roll, somewhere between Queens of the Stone Age and Oingo Boingo kind of a vibe. And
I've heard The Taint. I like it a lot, man.
Oh, thank you.
Congrats on that project. Yeah. So
our lead singer is married to a Japanese girl, and she grew up with the Viwak crew. So that's how we got tied to them. And
very nice.
Yeah, so it was maybe 20 years ago we first met them, and they started inviting us over years and years ago, but we couldn't make it. And then one time our lead guy Zach went on his own and hired a couple backup musicians from there to play the show. And then in 2017 we finally got to go for the first time.
Awesome.
And yeah, it was amazing because I got to have this cool like going to Japan with the band to play, but like it was the small scale version that I like. It was like we went and did a few shows, a small tour through the city. One of them was a festival show, a big festival show we played at. But then we played a couple other small, they are tiny venues, which is great because you show up with your 10 friends and there's 5 people at the bar. The place is packed. You're like, all right, we're packed. All right, this is amazing.
Dude, that's one of the things that scares me about going to Japan, that I'm not going to fit anywhere.
Yeah, you're what, 6'2"?
6'4". I'm a
6'4".
huge 235 pounds, so I'm a huge mass of blackness. So I don't know if I'll fit in Japan. That's my only hang-up.
You'll be snug everywhere. You'll be snug. Everyone will be super impressed with you. I was only 6 foot, but I think my pompadour, being 6 foot, tattoos. I was told I was intimidating on the subway because of my height, and I wear prescription glasses. So even everywhere I go, like when I'm out and about, I wear my sunglasses. And I don't try to be a cool guy, but I don't know, if I go to get on a subway, I just leave my sunglasses on. And
you don't have to try to be cool. You just are.
And that's just natural.
Natural. Yeah.
And I was told because of my shades, my hair, my sunglasses, that I was intimidating on the subway, and I should take my sunglasses off. Which I was fine with. I'm not trying to be intimidating, so I was fine with that. So there were little things like that were weird. Oh, here's what I was going to ask you about setting up the show that was different. So we went to the festival show the day before to do sound checks for everybody.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And normally what would happen is you show up, your band shows up, you have to find who's in charge. You have to find the person with the clipboard. You have to say, we're this band. You have to basically make everything happen and make sure that stuff happens and you're getting involved where your band is supposed to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Here, they have someone with a clipboard that goes around and finds all the band members, then collects everyone in a circle, and everyone introduces themselves to each other. And everyone says what band they're from and where they're from and a little bit about each other.
Oh,
and everyone gets to know each other. And then we talk about the order that everyone's playing and this or that. And it was such a weird, like, camaraderie thing happening where I'm like, this is weird. We're making friends with the other bands before we play.
Exactly. Like Punk is like, look at those assholes. When are they playing? Yeah.
And usually that's how it is. And instead, this became a thing so that, like, while the other bands were playing, I'm watching them play. I get an arm thrown around me with someone bobbing their head. I look, hey, it's one of the guys from the other band I met. So it made the whole festival feel like you were immediately part of this family. And all it took was a little, like, I know this word gets thrown around a lot poorly, but it took a little inclusivity. It just took people, including hey, I don't know you. I don't know you that well, so let's get in a circle and say each other's names, get to know each other. And it was so friendly, and everyone rocked and was so supportive of each other in the green room. Because we played House of Blues a couple years ago, and that was like our biggest, like, oh, we're playing here. And the other bands in the green room, everyone was way too cool for anybody. And the Taint, we're just a 3-man operation. We're 3 old punkers that, like, we're kind of hippie-ish. We're super nice. We're very, like, timid until we get on stage, and then we're kicking the shit out of everything, and, like, we're gonna destroy the place. So it was like, we're always just used to dealing with that, where you're like, yeah, we're all at the House of Blues, guys. Nobody's cooler than anyone else because we're here, you know.
Like, we were here first.
You go to Japan, and some of the bands we were playing with, like, I hadn't heard of them. They're kind of outside my genre, but, like, they were huge in Japan, like radio bands and stuff like that. They were in the circle with us. They were talking to us. They were totally just on equal level as everyone else.
Dude. You know what? Because the things, like, as you said, like, things happen. Like, people think, like, oh, we went to Japan, and you think it's planned, and things are very, very, you know, they happen because, like, hey, you want to come to Japan? No, maybe someday. And then, like, things happen. And that happens to us. Because, I mean, you know my band, Ex Novios. Like, we got inspired by Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. So basically, like, rap, like, but with salsa. I recorded in 2019 a record with Spike Lawson. Like, he came to Panama and recorded with us. So yeah, dude, like, maybe getting the Taint down in Panama to play would be very, very cool for Jungle.
We would love that.
I'm turning gears. Yeah, because, dude, like, the comic book community is not that big down here. Like, we might send invites to Colombian artists and Costa Rican artists to make something really big down here. But if we make it with music, it's easier to get sponsors. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk in private. We'll talk in private.
Yeah.
We're going to make a huge event. Wow.
That's very exciting.
Is there complimentary cocaine for everybody? There's my sort of first.
Where do you think you're coming, baby? It's Latin America.
Okay.
I mean,
just checking.
You get coffee, sugar, and a little bit of, you know, it's there if you want it. Like, I don't do it.
Coca-Cola.
I don't really do it because, I mean, I'm already like very, like, an outward personality, and in my younger years, I tried it. And I
won't shy away. I've had my fair share of time spent with that.
No, it's not for me.
It's for me every once in a while. It hasn't been for me for about 5 years. So I don't know if it's ever for me again. Same with with mushrooms. Dude, you guys are an adult show. We can talk about stuff like
dude. I have to confess, like, I microdosed with chocolate like a month ago when I was basically with the Ex Novios guy. It's like, I got chocolate. Like, sure, so you got chocolate. it has mushrooms, boy. And dude, I was tripping balls. I was tripping balls so bad that I was supposed to sleep at my brother's house because I'm not living in the city. Like I lived like 3 hours away from the city.
Mm-hmm.
So we were filming a video for a new song like we recorded, and like we finished like at 3 p.m. I was like, okay, I'm driving home, guys. See ya. I'll drive all the way back to here, like 3 hours driving. I didn't even notice. Like I knew I was here when I was closing the gate. I was like, shit. So yeah, it's no.
I know that feeling oh too well.
Yeah, so
no, definitely. Yeah, big fan of hallucinogens, especially as I was younger. Something I want to do again, but just like with the cocaine or whatever, it's I don't know. As you get older, I'm like, I don't know. I don't really have time for that right now.
Yeah.
Which is weird because when I was young, I didn't have time either. But I was just like, I don't care if I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I'll call in sick to work tomorrow.
Yeah,
Who cares?
We were careless. It was like, we're partying. It's Sunday, so.
I will credit comic books with maturing this kid quite a bit because I started off at a real young age. Not trying to brag, but I started off on some big books. Like my first published book was as an assistant on Spawn. So right away at 21, 22, I'm going to conventions with Danny Mickey, and it is immediately about professionalism. Like there was not even a discussion of let's go to the bar and party. It was you maybe stop by, maybe for one drink. You maybe let the editors see you. Then you let the editors see you leave. You let them see you being responsible. And so the other thing we learned was that the conventions are about the fan interaction. It's not about you getting somewhere and getting drunk. So like I would be there as the inker, even when I started with, I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but when I broke out on my own and was inking on my own instead of at a studio, I'd show up at the publisher's booth 9 a.m. I had my beers the night before. I smoked tons of weed. I might have done a little coke. Who knows what I did the night before? But I was there 9, 10 a.m. whenever the signing was supposed to be. I was there because there are fans that are there waiting in line. And when you see how disappointed they are that the penciler isn't there, you're like, I'm never going to do that to somebody. I'm never, ever going to do that to somebody. And pencilers did it all the time. Pencilers would just go and they're like, dude, I'm the rock star at the convention. Chug, chug. I'll show up when I show up and this or that. And you're like, that works for one summer and then no one likes you anymore.
Yeah, of course. So speaking in musical terms, the penciler would be like the singer of the band. The inker would be like the guitar player and the colorist is the bassist.
I would say the colorist is the guitarist. The bass player is more the inker.
The inker, okay.
Especially modern day, the colorist is more well known. The colorist brings a lot of attraction to the book. Like a colorist this day can get you to pick up a book. Where even my favorite colorists in the 80s, they and I love the flat style. That's my number one favorite style. But from the covers, it was kind of limited palettes, and they all kind of had the same colors and stuff like that.
Wow.
I make no claims.
I can imagine that.
That's done. I don't know. I don't know.
Make
Mr.
no claims
Liefeld.
for other people.
I wouldn't say. I don't know. I've heard the podcast.
I have not. Nothing against him. I just haven't.
He's an amped dude.
What's funny is most of the people that you probably think would be coked out in comics aren't at all. Most of the people like you'd think are huge potheads. People are more open with that. That was funny when I was young. Pot was this like I didn't let anybody ever know that I smoked pot or anything. It was always like on the down low and this or that. And like you didn't want your editors knowing something like that. Where now people are like on Twitter, they're like, I'm so stoned in the middle of the day. Dude, and they tweet their editor and stuff. I'm like, so unprofessional. What are you doing?
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Panama Red?
Yes. What is that?
It's a type of weed.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I was like, I know that name.
That got eradicated in 94 because the president at that time basically poisoned the island where that weed grew. But I remember, like, when I was like 20, 21, 22, like, we would go to this island called San Miguel, and it was just weed everywhere.
Yeah, because you would hear about Acapulco Gold and Panama Red.
Panama Red, yeah. And the thing is, like, at 22, if you ever said, like, hey, I'm going to Weed Island, this is like, I'm going to San Miguel, oh, you're going to Weed Island. And it was perfectly normal. And now it's all like hydroponics, and it's like, no, this will fuck you up, son. I don't know. Like, now I'm not attracted to weed because it's just like, dude, like, I don't know. At that time, it was very mellow, and it was like a pure sativa. So it wasn't like an indicator. It will get you thinking and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, dude. And I don't know. Those are the memories I have. Like, today, I don't even have weed here. Like, I'll smoke if I'm with friends and somebody has it. Hey, you want to talk? Hey, sure, why not? But like, I don't know. It's just because I remember those times when I was younger. So now, dude, I'm gonna be 50 in 2 years. And yeah, even
Brag.
drinking. Like, even drinking, man. No, yeah, I know. I use products. I tell everybody I use
Moisturize,
and drink water. But dude, like, even drinking, like, my hangovers are like 3 day long. It's just like, you have to find all the ways to find fun, man.
Yeah, no, I can still partake of the weed just fine, but I'm so slow. I got so slow in my 30s. Or I shouldn't say I got so slow. I was so in my 30s, I was such a workhorse that it got to the point where if I had a beer, enjoyed the beer, like had maybe 2 or 3 beers that day at my friend's house over 4 hours, just sipping them, having fun, I would feel it for 3 days. Like, I would feel like when my thoughts were a little slower, and I'd be like, can't have that, because everything was so stressful in mainstream comics for like from 30 to 40. I was living this like crazy high stress life that should not equate like living in the art world. It was like, obviously it's nothing like being a soldier or a doctor, and it's nothing in those stress levels.
Not at all.
But the deadlines and stuff would get out. I mean, I would wake up in the middle of the night sweating from deadlines. Stuff like that. I always hate saying that stuff because it sounds like I'm claiming PTSD or something like that. But a very small equivalent of it that just shouldn't exist in the art world. Like, you shouldn't be. It shouldn't have been that stressful to exist in mainstream comics, yet it was. Now I'm just.
Oh, look at that! Because Ryan hydrates and uses product.
No, it's I use low definition, Don. Low definition.
No more than 20. Yeah, just
takes years off. It takes a decade off at least. Yeah. No, you see me in person. I look 45 in person. I looked older when I was younger too. Like, so some people are like, "Oh, you look young for your age." Or like, "Well, I looked this way 15 years ago." Too. So like 15 years ago, I looked a little old and tired for my age.
That's an advantage. Like, when you're like a 21-year-old old man, like, you reach 40 and nobody notices. Like,
and that's what I think too about anyone in their 30s that started their whole thing where like, I wear sunglasses in public or on stream. I'm like, you nailed it, because then you can just wear them. That's your thing for the next 30. You can be 60. No one's gonna see your tired, wrinkled eyes because you're like, I always just wear the sunglasses. Like Samedi did that. Look. Samedi did that in his early 30s. He's like, sunglasses. And it was legit legitimately was to help him with the screen. Like, it was just too bright and stuff. And then it kind of turned into part of his look. And but to me, I'm like, no, that's a great look to have, because like, if you're the rock star or something, always do the thing with some kind of sunglasses or hair that you can take off when you're at home, because then you can be normal.
Somebody has poor vision, right?
Well, no, he needs glasses, regular glasses, but it was just the screen brightness was too much for him, so he got the shades that kind of diffuse that a little.
Yeah, but his look is straight out of a Gorillaz video. Like, dude, it's awesome.
Exactly. The hat, the headphones, like, and it's one of those things too. Like, he's got the personality to carry it. Where like, I whenever I wear sunglasses on a stream, like I'm. It's obvious that I'm putting on a cool guy. Hey, I'm joking around being a cool guy and stuff. Yeah. Where with him, it just feels like you're like, oh no, that's his look. That's just how he is. It's just what I mean. Like, it would look weird. It looks weird if you see an old one now where he's got regular glasses on. You're like, what's different? You're like, oh, I see his eyes. You're like, exactly.
Weird. What? Who is this guy?
What is
Yeah,
this?
dude. Awesome.
Oh, I missed Chris Fisk's comment. What was that last one I heard?
Let's see. Yeah. Chris says there was a kid we nicknamed the 50-year-old kid when we were teens. Now we all look older than him.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. See, I looked older. I had the big forehead, so everyone was always like, "Oh, are you balding? Are you balding?" And this or that. Meanwhile, that was all the boys. All the girls would go, "You look like Morrissey," and be like, once that happened, I was like, "All right, big forehead. Here we go."
Yeah, there we go.
Like once I combed my hair up and learned that girls like Morrissey, I was like, "All right."
Yeah, dude, that's so. The things like in math school, it was a little bit more cool because it was a girl, but she just looked mature, you know. So we call them la niña vieja, which means like the old girl. But I don't know. It sings better in Spanish, and dude, she used to get so mad.
Yeah, the old girl chunkier as a kid.
Yeah,
and
we made her a song
as
and everything.
Orangutan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wait, what was that, Ginge?
What's that?
Said I was fatter when I was a kid. I was a little fat kid for a while. It's all good. But yeah, I got called an orangutan as a kid. Like,
sorry. Oh man, that's so fucked up.
Yeah, that really messed with my head as a kid. I was like, orangutan.
Sorry, this is not funny.
It's funny.
I hope you think it's funny now because like all the means, like people were so mean to me as a kid, and all this like it's hilarious to me now. Like I don't feel scarred by it.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, people thought I was a girl. I mean, you gotta remember I was born in the late 70s, so it was like by 1980, every kid, boy or girl, had the same haircut. So we all dressed the same too. Like it was all kind of like just the same. Like all kids just look the same. And like, so man, people would call me a girl. I would get so mad. I would just be fuming. And which is funny because looking back, I'm like, who cares? Like the adult me is looking back to younger me. I'm like, chill out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, talking about meanness. I mean, when I was from 8 to 9, I got like really, really sick, and I lost a lot of weight. And when I go back to school, like I'm a completely different kid. It's like he's Pedro, and then they started calling me like Sad Spoon because I didn't use it. And they're like, I almost died in the summer. Like, shut up, Sad Spoon. Eat something. Like, yeah, that really hurt.
What was that? What is that in Spanish?
Cuchara triste.
Yeah, it always sounds better in Spanish.
Yeah.
Sounds meaner too. Like,
cuchara triste.
Jeez.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
And I was gonna bring up what Spencer just brought up. That Spencer always calls people old young men or young old men.
Yeah.
Like depend if they're a young man that looks old, or if they're an old man that looks young. It's old young men or young old men. Always cracks me up.
Oh Jesus.
No, so yeah, you were a fat little redhead kid, huh?
Yeah, it's all good. It took me probably till 16 or so. I went to the doctor and he just straight told me, he's like, Mark, you're fat. Like, all right.
That's the kind of thing we need today to get rid of this body positivity. Just tell people the truth.
Well, Mark, I don't want to beat around the bush because, well, son, you can't fit in the bush.
You can't fit in the bush.
You would stick out of the bush. So.
There's no bush big enough for you. So
see, I was skinny as a kid, but I was so skinny that I got made fun of for that. Like that actually, that was something that bugged me as a kid. Again, I'm not scarred from it as an adult. I'm over all this shit, but like, or tell myself that. But I didn't even think about that till just now. Like I'd kind of forgotten that like I was so skinny as a kid. People would make fun of me. Parents would offer me food. Like dads loved making fun of me. I was like I hated meeting my friends' dads. I'm like, damn it, they're gonna make fun of how skinny I am. Dude. Meanwhile, it's because we're poor. Thank you very much. Not my fault, you jerks.
Dude, my dad is an assassin like that. Like my friends dreaded to go home. Because I mean, he always have a nickname for everybody, and then like I was studying in Colombia, and I brought some friends to visit. Like they were all staying in my home, and I told them like, dude, my dad is gonna give you shit as soon as we're like, it can't be that bad. As soon as they go again, like Viking, Palestine, Kunachev. It's like, dude, it was And the guy he called Palestine is because he had bushy eyebrows, so he called him Palestine right away. And the Viking, he was just blonde, and he called him Viking. And then the Kuna chef is because he came with his girlfriend. But my dad visited me in Colombia, and he had another girlfriend. So when he came up with another girl, it's like, dude, you don't eat the same plate twice. You're a Kuna chef. And dude, it's like that. Like, dude, razor wit really fast. And that's something with dads. Dads do that. They will destroy whoever gets into their houses. They're paying for it.
I love too the I don't know if it was 80s, 90s dads and then it stopped because of political correctness or not. But my dad and my friends' dads, like we were in Southern California, but like we were the most diverse little group. Like our neighborhood, it was Indian kids, Mexican kids, black kids, white kids. And we were all mixed. Like I'm a mix. Like so we're all mix of this or that. I forget I was going with this now.
We're all mutts. Yeah. So we're talking about dads. We're talking about dads.
So but classic 80s, 90s dads would call out the race of the kid as the thing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, you're Irish? Don't bomb my car. Like, stuff like that. you're like, there's no way a dad would say that now. Like,
he will be canceled by the family.
Meeting my Middle Eastern friends, my dads would make all kinds of bombing jokes. Like it was all bombing jokes back then because we had a bunch of Irish and Middle Eastern kids, and that's what was going on in the 80s.
Yeah. Now to think of it, like the bomb was an 80s thing. Was it? No, the 70s too. The 70s.
70s and 80s, especially for both regions.
Yeah.
Because late 70s you had the Iranian Revolution and stuff like that, which is why we had so many Persians in my neighborhood. They all came over.
Have you seen Persepolis, the movie?
Yes.
Dude, awesome film. Just you guys, I'm always recommending animation. You said Persian kids. The conflict reminded me of that movie. If you can get your hands on Persepolis, guys, please get it.
Yeah, awesome. The book is great. The animation is great.
Amazing.
It's one of those. I was hesitant at first because like Mouse came out years ago when we were young, and Mouse told this story from this point of view, and it was heavy. And then it kind of seemed like for 20 years everyone was like trying to make Mouse, and you're like, okay, so I'm just supposed to be sad about your story, which is a sad story, but like it just seemed like everyone was trying to do Mouse. And then I was hesitant about Persepolis too, just not to sound cruel, but it just sounded like another version of Mouse. It's going to be a sad story, but it was done so well, which is what made Mouse great. It was not the concept was the greatest concept ever. It was that it was a heavy story, but it was told by someone who could really do a great job with comic book storytelling. So it hit really well.
And it was very personal. It's a very personal story. It's not like showing you like a macro like view of the conflict, but it's a story of this girl seeing how the country changed before her eyes. So that I really appreciated that from that movie.
And both the art and the animation, like they feel like the story. It's simple, but it's that simple done with a deft hand, like a very skilled hand. Like is the only way you can get away with that simplicity. No, and I usually even just shy away from talking about those books because they're so serious and the subject matter is not fun and stuff. But
look at what we did to the show right now.
It's been a ride, this whole show.
No, but to keep it upbeat though, is that like that's what's great about this medium is that whether animation or comics is that like you can tell this very, all these different types of stories. Like people say like, oh, that's not very comic booky or something. You're like, hey, anything could be comic booky. Like,
exactly.
As long as you do the comic booking right, as long as you make it the panel to panel work, any kind of story works. So yeah, I do recommend people go out and read some of that serious stuff too, man.
Yeah.
It's not all boobs and dragons.
Pride of Baghdad, for example, awesome comic book that has nothing.
As another one, I wouldn't have had a list ready of serious books that I like, but Pride of Baghdad is another one. I mean, again, you're dealing with Brian K. Vaughan as a master, not just a master writer, but he knows how to write for a comic book too, and he knows how to write for his artists. And I forget Nico Hendrickson, I think is the artist on that. Amazing art. and you fall in love with a lion that doesn't speak. It's not the Lion King. It's not an anthropomorphic lion at all. It's a lion. It's based on a real story.
Yeah, that would have cheapened it actually. If at any point the lion would go like,
wait, what's that?
That would have cheapened it. If like, you would go like Mufasa, like that would have sucked. No, dude, that book is perfect. That would dude, we're going on an hour and a half. Are we good, Ginge?
Whatever your time limit is.
We always do an hour, but I'm having a lot of fun right here. So
let's
care. If you
keep
don't
going
care,
for at least 5 minutes.
Care.
I'm good. Were there any more questions? Anyone from the chat? Any like? Since I'm here and I rarely stream these days, I did see a comment back a bit back to the weed talk. Where was it? Yeah, Don says Don Chin, Mr. Chin says, don't forget Humbleweed, my stomping grounds. So Humboldt is a Northern California city. There's a series of small colleges and a university there, and it's very well known, especially. Back in the day, I'd say 70s, 80s, and 90s, before weed became legal in California, all that stuff. Humboldt weed was the you heard about it growing up, and if a friend went to Northern California, could bring some back. It was the greatest thing you could get your hands on.
It's like gourmet weed,
So there's a little part of my brain, even just seeing the Humboldt weed, it's like whoo.
But I don't know. I there's a place here called El Valle, and there's this lady. I think she's from Germany, and she's growing weed that tastes like lavender.
There you go.
And I don't know. I might take a trip to El Valle. That's like an hour and a half away. I'll be right back.
He started off the show with I don't know if I need to smoke weed anymore. And he's like, but if it tastes like lavender.
Lavender, yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking about like gourmet weed. Then that's something.
Well, yeah. When I was in high school, it was the terms were chronic or swag. You either got swag, which was like the Mexican brick, just literally you get a corner broken off a brick of dried weed, or the chronic, which had some crystals or some hair on it, some orange hairs, and it was a step up. And those are the only two. And now I can go to the dispensary and they're like, what flavor do you want?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow.
I guess I'll take the kind that tastes like Fruity Pebbles. Actually, what's that called? And they're like, it's called Fruity Pebbles. Like,
Fruity Pebbles. So Chris Fix, actually, she does look like Martha. So
maybe it is just Martha Stewart.
Probably
hiding out in Panama.
Yeah, but white ladies look the same to Panamanians.
No, you know what?
I know, I'm kidding. You guys are so mixed down there.
It's a misconception because we have a lot of actually white people to us look like Spaniards. So there's a little bit of Northern Africa with Celtic kind of mix. So huge noses.
No, that's what's always funny. Everyone thinks Mexico, the border between Mexico and the United States, draws a line between white and brown, and it's
doesn't
only on Twitter, folks. Only on Twitter.
You see a lot of white Mexicans that will throw you off. It's you speak to them again, and they answer to you da 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 dang dang, very very Mexican, they speak no English at all.
No, the first time I went as a kid, we're down in Mexico, and there's all these Mexican kids I'm meeting my own age, and they're all blonde with green and blue eyes. Yeah, exactly. And I was just as it was at one moment, it was like a 5-year-old. I'm like, huh, okay. And I'm part Mexican too, and but here's the thing: we say part Mexican, but we're actually part native.
Native, yeah.
We have some family members that are from south of the border, Mexico. Yeah. But the actual what we call, we still call it the Mexican part of the family. They're all from New Mexico, south. They're just the southwest United States, basically. My great grandma, who was the most native, we're not even sure which tribe she was part of, because she was part of a basic cleaned out land. Shipped a bunch of people down to Mexico, which they were doing at the time. They were shipping natives down to Mexico. They're basically creating Mexicans. They're you're Mexican now. And my great grandma was part of a group that got adopted. She got put into a pool of adopted kids. So we're not even quite sure what she was. So it's just funny. I look white. I was raised in the suburbs and stuff, but my dad's half Mexican. My dad is more than half Mexican.
Dude, Chris Fisk, I want you to look for El Bananero, which is a guy from Uruguay. and he hates Talia for some reason. Dude, that guy is a riot. I just remember me of Talia. Like, yeah, Talia's beloved, but this guy like hates her with a passion, and he makes videos just trashing her. Dude, it's very, very funny.
Funny Univision. I'd see Univision. My first thought is Xuxa.
But Xuxa's Brazilian.
Oh,
and that made my teenage years.
See, but she was played on Univision in California.
Yeah. But
so I
from
didn't
Brazil.
know she was Brazilian.
Yeah, the thing is that you have Xuxa, which is the OG, and then you have a Peruvian show called Nubeluz. But it's the same concept, like smoking hot girls singing for kids. And the only ones who see that show are teenage males, like.
Oh yeah,
learning the songs. I
was sitting there watching it in high school, waiting for the porn part to start.
Yeah.
I'm like, when's the porn part start? This has to be a porn because of the way these girls are dressed. Dude, and they never did. I watched every day. And they never got naked.
And the titties never came. Yeah, that was a common misconception. But yeah, like Xuxa was from Brazil. She married Pelé for a while, the soccer player.
Wow.
She was like 40 something when she did that show.
What?
Yeah,
I was in love. I mean, I was literally in love. I'd be sitting in high school and like,
we all did.
Can't wait to watch Xuxa, man.
We all did. Oh.
My friends are like, we found porn because we didn't have the internet back then. It's like, we found a bunch of porn. I'm like, that doesn't even touch Xuxa. Nothing was. Nothing. Somehow she was so hot and she's fully clothed.
Dude, I'm remembering the songs now.
My other funny. Yeah, I remember that one.
Brinca, brinca, salta, salta. Ser feliz está de más. Yeah.
Why aren't you solo screening this?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Go ahead, pitch.
Este es el show de Chuche. Te saluda con amor. Yeah, that was so cool. So cool. And dude, I remember I would come from school, jump out of my clothes, and watch Xuxa in my underwear. That's what I used to do.
Well, that was because it was hot, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was hot.
Nothing to do with Xuxa.
The bottle of lotion was just because it was there. But yeah.
That's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so it's a place right next to the bed. That's where you put the... Yeah.
Well, my other funny Univision story goes to back to what we were saying about misconceptions about Mexico, is even misconceptions about Mexican television is... My friend Adam, who's the co-creator of my book Death Betty, Adam Jackman, a writer from Utah, the whitest white kid ever, moved to LA at 17, had gone to a school in Utah that they had to speak Spanish at. He went to a private school that you had to speak Spanish at. So he at 17 decided to be I'm the cool kid. I'm gonna move to LA and be a famous writer and actor and director, the LA dream, the Hollywood dream. So he moves there, becomes a writer at Univision, and works his way up in his 20s to become like a head writer at Univision. Meanwhile, he is the whitest American dude you could ever meet. But he spoke the language so well. The
connection with youth is that there's a huge Mormon community in Mexico, and they communicate. Meat Romney is Mexican. That's a thing people don't really know. Like the Mormonism is huge in Mexico. Not so huge after Mexico. If you go to Guatemala, Honduras, and I'm speaking more Latino as we go down. Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Panama.
The R's started getting longer and more rolled as he went down.
Yeah, as you get down here, you get the poor Mormon kids with their the short sleeve shirts and the ties, dying in the sun. Spreading the word
on their mission.
Yeah, and nobody listens to them.
Oh,
nobody does. It's just horrible. Because we enjoy drinking. El gordo, Cristina, dude, Cristina, that's Cuban. That's Cuban. Yeah. Cristina was huge. But now people watch a lady called Ana Maria Polo, which is like Judge Judy. But dude, it's always
was she in a bikini?
No. She's a very distinguished looking lady, but the show is filth, pure filth. It's just I married a midget and I didn't know before the wedding. It's how? That kind of shows like that, like People's Court, but very, very cheesy. So yeah, that's.
She took her pants off, and there wasn't another half.
Exactly. Mariana de la Noche.
She had no legs under her pants.
Yeah, just no legs under her pants. And Sábado Gigante, that guy's retired. That guy's retired. That's what's the name? Don Francisco. Yeah, that guy is no more.
I want to hear Kayla say all this Spanish stuff in her Boston accent.
Mariana de la Noche. I don't know.
Yeah, like El Gordo. Like I want to hear
El Gordo y la
Sábado
Flaca. Yeah.
Gigante.
Sábado Gigante. Yeah, this.
Sábado Gigante. Sábado Gigante.
Yeah.
Gigante. No offense, Kayla. She knows I love her. I'm not.
Yeah.
I was just seeing her making fun of her voice. Let's make fun of Kayla's voice.
We're not, man. Kayla's a jewel. Kayla's a jewel.
On that note, guys, I think we'll probably go ahead and end the show.
Let's call it before it gets racial or something.
Yeah. Before
we're only.
we do something
Let's call it sexism here. And,
we're losing subs. Okay, guys. So Ryan, thanks for coming by, buddy. Really appreciate you.
An awesome show. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. I had a blast. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Love all of you so much. This is great.
Actually, we usually bump people to the back, but I'll leave you out front to hang out because our next guest next week is actually another sort of, I guess you'd call him a death curse friend, Ty Ranger, Ty the comic guy. He's putting out his comic book that he's wrote and drawn. I'm not sure if it's coming. I'm not sure when it's going to be published, but he's doing the show next week, and we'll be figuring all that out. It's going to be his first YouTube show. So
awesome! That's great. He's also the comic ship artist. We'll be bringing the comic ship back next month sometime.
Oh,
and,
really? Very cool.
You'll see more from of his artwork there. More of Ty's artwork there. So looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, I miss the ship, man. When is it coming back? When?
We'll talk off air. Let's let him close the show.
All right.
All right, everybody. We will catch y'all next week. Thank you for coming by. Thank you, chat. We will see y'all later.